All right, let's take a look at the markets. Asian stocks traded mixed today. This as investors awaited key U.S. inflation data, while tech stocks made gains on Wall Street, helped to propel the market to another all-time high. Japanese stocks slid on the back of data showing that factory output slumped in July. The Nikkei share average declined by 0.26%. The Hang Seng Index rose by 0.32%, while the Shanghai Composite Index gained 0.4%. U.S. stocks ended Thursday's session higher, with the S&P 500 hitting fresh record highs, with other indices also edging up. A combination of healthy economic data and ongoing enthusiasm around artificial intelligence is said to have spurred sentiment. This as Nvidia reported a 56% surge in quarterly revenue for the second quarter, while cautioning on Chinese demand going forward. And on the economy front, the latest estimates for U.S. GDP growth came in at 3.3% for the second quarter, with jobless claims coming in lower than expected, lessening fears that the U.S. could possibly go into recession. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended up 0.16%. The S&P 500 gained 0.32%, surging through the 6,500 index point level for the first time, while the Nasdaq Composite Index advanced by 0.53%. Looking at local indicators, we see that the all-share index is trading down 1/3% at 101,554 index points. The rand is trading at 17.75 against the US dollar, 20.72 vis-a-vis the euro, and 23.90 against the British pound. On the commodities front, we see that gold is trading at $3,406 an ounce, platinum at $1,343 an ounce, while Brent crude oil is trading at $67.58 a barrel. All right, let's get into it now with Warwick Lucas. He's the head of private clients at Vunani Securities. Thanks very much for joining us, Warwick. So August started with the greatly anticipated Trump tariffs kicking in, with other themes like monetary policy and tech fundamentals preoccupying investors' mind. How would you characterize the month that was?
Right. I would say it was very important from the Mag 7 point of view, because you're basically talking about Club AI there. So you have Google, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft, which are basically buyers of Nvidia's chips, and I think we now have them on a capital spending run rate of about $350 billion a year, with most of the earnings that Nvidia have. I mean, I think it's in the order of 90% is going into data centers. So there's this furious building rate on data centers for AI. And of course, Nvidia then is basically the biggest game in town when it comes to these chips, and they have a clear lead. But of course, then they have a fairly restricted customer base. I mean, most of it is going to the US, a certain amount to China, and it's a kind of a closed shop. But it's curious that IT is no longer this capital light business. You're seeing capital spending that exceeds anything that you used to see on the old aluminium plants or steel or paper. It's quite an extraordinary turn of events. I think for all of those big tech companies, it's existential, and they are all playing to win. So yes, I think it's quite an important bit of history that we're seeing here. Monetary policy, I mean, it's not shall we say, shaping up with where inflation is going. We are starting to see some of that potential tariff inflation coming through, much as it was denied. There was always going to be a lag effect because the US stocked up ahead of the announcement and the finalization of those tariffs, and but that was only going to be able to be hidden so long. So now we've got to the point that they're actually coming through. However, the market is starting to take the view, I think, that it's no longer as uncertain. It might not necessarily like the framework that has been put in place, but it seems to almost feel that it knows what is going on, which I think is quite a change from April, which of course was about as stable as a washing machine contents. So all in all, I think we're seeing a market that is melting up. It's actually hard to find an example of a market that isn't doing well. And I think in that sense, one needs to sort of perhaps tread a little bit carefully, because I think when everyone's thinking the same, I wonder if anyone's thinking.
Very interesting indeed. And what about here at home? I mean, the local stocks have been running up really well, and the rand is up about 3% against the US dollar for the month of August. Not too shabby, but of course the question is, can this be maintained?
Well, of course, the problem in terms of comparing to the dollar these days is that the dollar is not exactly the most robust game in town anymore. I mean, we've seen a significant decline in the dollar against the euro, for example. So from that point of view, I mean, it's no longer a hurdle beating the dollar. Unusual, because normally a country introducing tariffs actually tends to have a stronger currency. So I think that weak dollar is also anticipating some inflationary effects. I think in terms of our local stocks, I mean, it's a straight flow through on general global sentiment. Of course, a weak rand is normally quite positive, but right now our currency dynamics, I think, are a little bit more convoluted than just rand dollar.
Let's take a quick look at the Northern Platinum annual results that came out. That's for the year ended June 2025. Reporting sales revenue up 7%, just shy of 33 billion rand. Headline earnings per share down 14.4%. But interestingly, they raised their gross dividend to shareholders by 26.5% to 2.15 rand. Your thoughts very quickly.
Absolutely, the most important indicator is what they did with that dividend, because dividends are paid in hard cash. They're not reported by accountants or messed with. That's hard cash paid out to shareholders. So that's telling you those Northern directors are confident. I mean, the basket pricing has probably been a bit off in the past year, and I think that explains those headlines down a bit. But the direction of all of those basket constituents, namely palladium, platinum and rhodium, all pointing in the right direction, I think I would probably share the director's confidence there.
All right. Thank you so much, Warwick, for your time and insights. As always, that was Warwick Lucas. He's the head of private clients at Vunani Securities.